In this video we're going to have a look at geoprocessing. So what is geoprocessing? The most simple explanation is geoprocessing is combining two datasets to create a new one. The most simple way of doing this is a clip. The word always is mentioned here because this one is called clip in every GIS piece of software that is available on the market. A clip is a very simple thing. It just cuts off, like the cookie cutter in our first image, everything that is underneath it. So if you clip your input layer, no matter if it's a polygon layer, a line layer or a point layer, with this yellowish circle, the output will be exactly the same input layer, but only in the part that overlaps with the clip feature. So there's the example of the clip feature again, but underneath it is the exact opposite of that. It's an erase feature. That is differently named in every GIS software. It could be called erase. In QGIS it's difference, but that will do exactly the opposite from the clip. So everything that is within the erase feature is being erased from the original dataset. A slightly more complex geoprocessing tool is the union. Here you can see that all the objects are kept, all the geometric objects are kept, but there's also something happening with the attribute tables of the two input layers. Here you can see for the gray rectangles there's an A and B part, and for the yellow circle there's a 1 included in the attribute table. And as an output you can see that they are being combined here. So wherever there's an A, because it is in this rectangle, the A will stay in the type, but the class will be added only here because that is where the circle overlaps. So you get a combination of those two. This is one type of geoprocessing that has to be used with care, because as you can see here, we've got 3 objects in 2 different data sets, and they combine and they become 5 objects. If you have 2 large data sets already that you combine, it's going to be huge. Something similar is the intersection. It does the same thing with the table, so the attribute tables are being combined, but it will only keep the part where both the 2 input layers are present. So everything that is overlapping is being kept, and everything that is not overlapping is being deleted. So those are different types of geoprocessing tools. There are more than these 4 examples, but most of them include 2 layers that are combined and they make a new data set. There's one exception to the rule of 2 layers, and that is the buffer. The buffer is also one of the geoprocessing tools, but it is the only one that is just 1 layer, and you get an extra parameter that is the buffer distance. As you can see here, point layer or a line layer or a polygon layer, if you buffer it, always the outcome will be a polygon layer again. So the use case for the buffer, for example, was very clear this year. You were not allowed to drive further than 100 kilometers from your hometown in France. So there was this simple online use buffer, the COVID radius. You could enter your own home address and it would tell you where you were allowed to go. So now let's have a look at some of the geoprocessing tools and how they work in QGIS. This might be an interesting case. We're looking for empty office spaces in close proximity to metro stops in Amsterdam. So what we have here for data is we have metro stops and tram stops. They are in the same data set, and we have empty offices. So what we could do now first is select the metro stations and then buffer the stations with the desired buffer distance, which is 300 meters here, and then select the empty offices that are within those buffers. So first we have to select the metro stations. So we're going for the metro stops. We're selecting features using an expression. We go to fields, the modality, and the modality should be metro. Select and you see that all the squares, which are all the metro stations, are selected. They're all yellow now. Next is we buffer this. So we go to the geoprocessing tools, we use the buffer tool. We will buffer the tram and metro stops, but only the selected features, so only the metro stations. The distance is 300 meters, and we leave all the rest just as it is in the default settings. So we're making a temporary layer here. Now you see those purple circles are the buffers around the metro stations. Next is that we're going to select the empty offices. So we go to the research tools, select by location, and we're going to select the empty offices that intersect with the new temporary buffer layer. We create a new selection, and now we should be able to see in yellow the selected empty office spaces. Now of course we can export those again to an Excel sheet or to whatever other export format that we want to use. I could have got to nearly the same result using a clip function in combination with the buffer, so without selecting. So I'm going to deselect everything again. What I could also have done now is that I'd use a clip function on the empty offices. Let's have a look at how that would work. So I'd clip the offices, there it is, and I would clip it with those buffered tram stations. And I'd get a new layer. So what would be in this layer? Well, in this layer, if I shut everything down, are exactly and only the empty offices that are within the buffered area, so closer than 300 meters to a metro stop. There's another option I could have used. I could have also used an intersection tool. If I would have used the intersection tool, there we go, I could have used the empty offices and overlaid it with the buffered blocks. And in that case, I would have kept not only the empty offices, but also all the values used in the metro station. Because the metro stations are buffered, so the buffer does have the attributes of the metro station. So input fields to keep, I leave it empty to keep all fields, no other things, just another temporary layer. And let's see what that brings. So we've got a similar result here, like in the clip. There's nothing else with that, but it differs in the attribute table. So in this case, we have the names of all the office buildings, but in the back here, we also have the modality and the line that connects to that specific office building now. So that's an interesting option, using an intersection instead of a clip or just a selection. So we're back at the beginning again. It depends very much on the kind of result you want, what kind of geoprocessing tool you're using. So if you look at this little fella here, he's doing a clip, or at least I think he's doing a clip. But if you look closely, you can see that he also keeps everything that is outside of the overlaid area. So maybe he's just taking the stars out, and if you need just the outside of it, it might have been an erase. It could also be that you need not only the layer of pastry that you're looking at, but also some of the value of the stars that are being pushed out now. So in that case, it might be needed to do a union, or maybe an intersection. So it depends very much on what you need at the end, but keep this image in mind, keep it simple, and you'll get there.